Okay, today I have a Bachmann Spectrum GE 44-ton switcher that I'm going to put this Digitrax DZ123 decoder in. And so let's just jump right into it here and get started, see what we have. So we'll start taking this apart. And I will end up, I'll remove the couplers here. I don't use these old style horn couplers on anything. I'll end up replacing them with KDs. So get rid of both of these. Let's see. Okay, looks like both ends are different on this for some reason, unless this has been a part before. Well, it shouldn't have been a part. I bought this brand new at the train show the other day, but it is old stock. So anyway, pull the screws out of the fuel tanks here. And then maybe we can lift the body off of it. There, we won't have to lift the body off of it. Okay. There's all those parts. Just looking at it here a little bit. And now we'll see what we can do. Form a little plane here. See, now this has two different motors in it, one for the front, one for the rear. And there's really nothing to it. I may change these bulbs out too and put some LEDs. Let's see what we've got in there. If you can see down in there, there is a little, just that little clear space there. That'll be enough for an LED. I've got some small surface mounts that I can put in there. And basically I just want to try this. I read somewhere that these little Bachmanns weren't good to put decoders in. Actually I saw a video. So I just want to try it. And if it works out with this decoder, then I'll end up buying a Loc Sound Micro Select and I'll put it in here. So let's take this board off. It's just held on with the one screw. And that's all there is to that. I need to turn on my soldering iron. We'll get that going. That way I can unsolder this board. Let that warm up a second. We'll see. Trying to organize some of this stuff here a little better. Put the box away. Get it out of my way. Yeah, this is brand new. I just picked it up this weekend up at Monroeville. So I'm hoping that this will not be that difficult. Just start unsoldering some wires. And I did test run this morning, and it runs really well. So, just looking at these small little bulbs here. I've got several different kinds of LEDs, so I don't know if I'll use the surface mounts in it or what. So now what I'm looking at, I am just looking to see how they, actually I don't guess I'll have to isolate this. Let's see, red and black. Let me get my wire strippers. Okay. So we'll start stripping some of this wire off. So I've got my red and black. Now, I have to think about this for a minute, because most of the time we're using our leads from the trucks to get our power. And now our leads are I think they're going right straight to the motor. This picks up power on all 8 wheels. It was feeding this board so normally I would just use the red and black as pickups, and then the gray and the orange would be for my motor. So, what to do? I wonder if you look down in there. Let me pull this front truck off here. I'm kind of curious now. See if you can see that on the end there. There's our brushes for the motor. Let me try something. Got this little 12-volt battery. That. We'll just see real quick if we have any power here. Yes. So those are my pickups. I don't know if you can see that moving or not. I think my battery's dead now. Either that or my connection came loose. So let's try this. I don't know if this will work or not. Let me set this over here on my little test track here for a second. And then okay. So I set that on my little test track here, just a little piece of straight track. And this will actually run without the wires, so we're getting pickup through the truck itself, through the wheels. Really the only thing to me it looked like the wires are feeding is the lights on this. So I need to separate the pickup from the wheel. So I guess we'll end up pulling this. Let's pull this apart just for curiosity, and we'll see. I'll get a smaller Phillips screwdriver. It's too small. Nope. So I need to pull this apart. And see exactly how. Okay. Now, I see how it is. All right, let's pull our little motor out. Okay. So what this is doing is these little spring clips right here right there at the end of the screwdriver. There's one on top and the bottom, and they're connected. There is a lead soldered to them. So what I'll end up doing is I'll cut this off, cut the one at the bottom off, just so that the trucks will be feeding power to the decoder. Yeah, okay. That's how that works. So, and like I say, there's one down there at the bottom too. Really hard to see. And it just feeds through. Right in there. So I think I can take and cut those off. Let's try and cut one off. And okay, there's that one. I don't know if I can pull that. I can't pull that out. So let me get in there. Yep. Okay. There we go. And you probably saw my black wire feed fall off there. So I'll have to solder that back on. But that's no big deal. And I'll end up having to do this to the front and the rear truck. Now, I need to make sure that there's just a little tiny piece left in there. I think I got it there. We'll go ahead and try and hook this one side up. So I'll have to, now that separates, that isolates the motor from the truck. So what I can do now is go ahead, I'll end up running an orange and a gray wire from the poles on the motor. And then that'll set back in there. I'll solder this black wire back onto that side, and we'll go from there. And like I say, I'll have to do that to the back. Let me take this out. Okay. So we'll use some red and some yellow. And we'll see how that turns out for us. Okay, let's strip some wire off here. We don't need a whole lot. So, tin the end of our soldering iron. And get a little flux. Put a little flux on the motor lead. Okay, there's that side. Now let's turn that around. That way that'll and like I say, this is really an experiment. If it works, great. If it doesn't, well, I'm not out a whole lot. So let's turn that over. Put a little bit of flux on this side. Get some. I will use 2 different color wire here. Get some red. Strip the end of that off. We'll go ahead and tin that up. Okay, and I've already got the flux on this side. A little heat to it. Okay, go ahead. There we go. Alright, now we'll stick this back in here. Since this is old, cut my red wire off a little bit. I will go ahead and, like every locomotive that I do, I'll lube it up just for good measure. Okay. Put that back in there, just like that. Alright, so I've got that. Go ahead and put that back together. Make sure all those screws are started in there before I tighten them down all the way. Okay. So there's that. I need to pull that side frame off. That way I can get into that little, if you can see that right in there, I got to solder my black wire back to that. So let's go ahead and get a little flux on it. Prop that up. Okay. See if I can get just a touch of solder. Okay. Okay, there we've got our leads back on. Put our side frame back on. And if I have to, I can always go back in and solder that back up, but I shouldn't have. Hopefully I won't have to. So we'll pull this back off. Put that in. Okay, there's one side. Now we just have to do it to the other side. Go ahead and take that off. Some things out of the way. And I'll end up cutting that wire back. So just keep those screws in that plate right there, that way we won't lose them. And we will look and see what which side feeds what here after I get this one soldered up and back together. So we've got that off. We'll do the same thing. So I have to, like before, cut that lead. I'll cut that. If you can see that, there's a little piece right there at the end of my thumb. That's one of the motor contacts. We'll just cut that off. That's that side. The other side's a little more difficult because it's down in there. So, well, I say difficult. That wasn't too hard. My pliers are getting dull. I'll fold that down in there just to make sure. Alright. Now, go ahead and go ahead and solder this bottom. It's got a little grease there on it. A little flux on it. Actually, there's a little drop there on the end. And that is the bottom. Cut this piece of wire in half. that off. Okay. Break out the solder and flux again. Tin up our wire. There's that. Now we can tin up the motor. And I will have them, this is the bottom, so we'll have the wire colors coordinated. So there's that. Just need to do the top. Wipe that little bit of grease off. Go ahead and put a little bit of flux there. Got my red wire here off of the truck. Strip that off, put a little bit of flux, tin the end of it. Okay. And then we can go ahead and tin the motor. Put our wire on. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and lube this one up. And that will spread around in there, so no need to worry about where it goes. Okay, there's that. Put that away. Done with that. Set our motor back in. Okay. Make sure all of our screws start. Okay, now I can go ahead and tighten everything down. Now, I can take the decoder and so now these are our motor leads. So now red and yellow will connect to orange and gray. I'll have to get me some heat shrink. Okay, I'm going to try something here. I'm just thinking about something. I am going to, since I use the same color wire, top and bottom of the motor, what I'm thinking is, since these are facing the opposite directions of each other, these motors, I may have to change my wire. Well, not change it, but at least cross this over. Okay, I was right. I do have to have them the opposite way. So, but as you can tell, those are both running different speeds. Well, anyway, we're going to try this. Like I say, just to try it, see what happens. So I've got those 10 together. I'm just going to leave everything a little long. If it works, I'll come back and I'll cut it all down and trim it all up a little bit, make it look better. But for now, so what I need to do, all of this has to be connected. And I can change CVs to make this work out, forward and reverse. Anyway, that down there, pull this off. But I think I may end up with trouble with that motor. Because you could tell they are running two different speeds. So there's that. This one. We'll run over here, and now I have to strip that. And there is a lot of extra wire here. But once again, this is an experiment. Just to see if it works. Dun, 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 dun. Get a piece of heat shrink on here before I forget that. There's that. Now I should have another piece of heat shrink. Well, I had cut pieces anyway. Let me cut another one. Actually, I'm going to need 3 more. So we'll get our heat shrink cut. Some flux on that. I haven't tinned this one up yet. Okay. Now we're ready to connect our motor leads up here. Get this heat shrink ready. We've got 2 connections to make. And then break out the helping hands. Okay. That side. Heat shrink tubing there. And have a lot of solder there to show for that. Let's try that one again. Okay, we've got all of our connections made. Well, for the motor anyway. That doesn't look pretty, but it's not supposed to. And now I want to put this on the track and see if we have anything. Okay, we're back here. I've taken it and set it on my little stand here, little piece of test track with my rollers, and we'll set this thing up. It should be set to address 3, and we'll start increasing the speed and see what we've got. Well, I can hear a hum. We've got it up to 8. There's 12. 16. Well, there I had it all the way up, and I think I just let the smoke out of it. So let's see if, of course now I did oil that. So maybe what I've got is a little oil. I just want to make sure everything is loose. That's loose. That one's loose. Let's try that again. I've got it hooked up to my NCE system. Okay. So that was oil burning off of it. So it does work. That is turned all the way up to speed step 28. So I have lubed that up. You may just let it run like that for a little while. Still not convinced that it'll work quite right. I mean, it does work. There's 20, speed step 24. That's 20. We're down to 16. 16, it doesn't, that one on the right, it doesn't like anything less than 16 evidently. So there's 12. Now we're at 8. So let's go back up. 12, 16, 20. Let's try changing the direction. So we're at 16, 20, 24, 28. So, in a way, we're successful, and in a way, it's not successful. So, I think I'll turn this off here and maybe work on, see what I can do with the motors here maybe. I could always just run this with one motor. It's not going to be pulling a lot of cars. Not meant to be pulling a lot of cars. So, but yeah, it works. So, thanks for watching.